What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JBsports back again with another one. It's not debatable that the two biggest names and two biggest draws at 140 pounds and below in boxing are Gervonta Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia, aka King Rye. Well, I got some good news in regards to this potential mega fight. Now, this is the third time that these two fighters have been negotiating to fight each other. And Ryan Garcia, he's hoping the third time will be the charm. And my source is telling me that this fight is very close to being finalized. In the words of Dan Raphael, this fight is on the 2-yard line. So that's great news for boxing fans. Now, if the fight gets done, it will happen on December 17th in the ATL at State Farm's Arena. Now, that was the same location and venue for Gervonta Davis becoming a multi-division, a 3-division world champion, as he was able to stop Mario Barrios to become regular WBA junior welterweight champion. Ryan Garcia has never been a champion, and he don't care about being no champion. He's fighting for legacy. He says he beats Devin Haney. People are still going to go up to him and ask him when he fighting Gervonta Tank Davis. He beats Gervonta Tank Davis. He is a creme de la creme at 140 pounds and below. He stands alone on the top of that mountain when you talk about the face of boxing at 140 pounds and below. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. Now, I was hearing at first that Michelle Rivera was going to get the fight with Gervonta Tank Davis, but he has a fight lined up with Jezreel Corrales. That fight will take place on the undercard of Deontay Wilder versus Robert Helenius. That will be a WBA eliminator. The winner of that fight will be in prime position to take on Gervonta Tank Davis in the first quarter of 2023. First order of business is for Gervonta Tank Davis to finalize the fight with Ryan Garcia. This is the third time that they have negotiated to fight each other. The first 2 times, it didn't come to fruition. I don't really remember too much of the first round of negotiation, but I do remember very vividly the second time they negotiated to fight each other. And that was all Ryan Garcia's fault. He was chasing a pipe dream in Manny Pacquiao. They was talking about fighting on at some billionaire's mansion. I don't know if they was going to be fighting in the backyard or the front yard, but they were going to be fighting at some billionaire's mansion. It was a pipe dream. It was fugazi. The fight did not come to fruition. Ryan Garcia tried to double back to Gervonta Tank Davis. And by that time, Gervonta Tank Davis had moved on, and Ryan Garcia was left standing at the altar without a big fight. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. But my source is telling me that this fight is very close to being finalized. Now, some obstacles still need to be cleared for this fight to become finalized, but it's nothing that I see right now that will prevent this fight from happening. Both fighters are big names at 140 pounds. It will be a huge fight in the ATL. It will be a star-studded event. A lot of entertainers from the ATL will be in attendance for this fight. A lot of hip-hop rappers from the ATL will be in attendance for that fight. I wouldn't be a bit surprised you see LA flying to ATL for this fight. You have Hollywood and the Hollywood South in attendance for this mega matchup. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. But great news for not only hardcore boxing fans, but for casual boxing fans, because this is a fight that's not only going to bring in the hardcore boxing fan, but it's also going to bring in the casual boxing fan. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. Now, Gervonta Tank Davis fights exclusively on Showtime Boxing, which is run by Steven Espinosa, and I'm hearing that he's working very hard behind the scenes to make this fight happen. He's pushing very hard to make this fight happen. Al Heyman is on board. Eric Gomez, who represents Ryan Garcia, is on board. Ryan Garcia's lawyer, who's very influential in boxing, is on board for this fight. and he's representing Ryan Garcia in negotiations. And also Leonard Ellaby, who promotes Gervonta Tank Davis, is on board for this fight. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. Very, very interesting matchup. Very intriguing fight. You got Gervonta Tank Davis, who has a PhD in the one-hitter quitter. Ryan Garcia has great power, great speed. He's developed a jab under the tutelage of trainer Goosen. His former trainer, Eddie Reynoso, who in my opinion is one of the most overrated trainers in boxing. You know, he's winning all these trainer of the years because he's training Canelo Alvarez. But Canelo Alvarez is kind of like a Floyd Mayweather Jr. He knows how to fight. He's been fighting at such a young age. He knows boxing inside out. You know, he basically can coach himself, you know, round after round in the fights. He don't need to go to the corner, sit on the stool, and for a trainer to say, all right, man, I think you're doing this wrong. You need to do this. You need to try to set him up for this punch, this, that, and the third. I don't think he need that. He has such an advanced level as far as boxing IQ, just like Floyd Mayweather Jr., just like a Andre Ward, just like a Terrence Crawford. Those guys, they have trainers. I'm not taking nothing away from their trainers, but you can name about 100 trainers in boxing that could train those fighters, and the results will be the same. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. But that's the news that I'm hearing, that Ryan Garcia versus Gervonta Tank Davis is on the 2-yard line, and it's very close to coming to fruition. Let me know your thoughts about this particular matchup. Ryan Garcia versus Gervonta Tank Davis for Davis's regular WBA lightweight title. Ryan Garcia at first was pushing hard for 140 pounds for this fight to take place. Floyd Mayweather Jr. came after those comments and said the fight will take place at 135 pounds. Ryan Garcia will have to sacrifice versus Ryan Garcia will have to sacrifice versus Gervonta Tank Davis like I had to sacrifice when I fought Oscar De La Hoya, when I had no say-so on the gloves, the weight, the money, the judges, the referee, or nothing. I had no say-so. He's saying Ryan Garcia is in the same situation I was in. He's going to accept what we give him. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. But I like this fight. It's going to be a great, great matchup. You know, the winner of this fight will have a strong case as the best at 135 pounds. Now, I know undisputed lightweight champion Devin Haney and his fans would disagree with that. I'm just saying they will have an argument. I'm not saying that they're the best at 135. They will have an argument. As you look at Devin Haney's best win at 135 pounds was over George Kambosos. His second best win, what is it, Jojo Diaz? That's 2 good wins. But whoever wins out of Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia win will be better than George Kambosos' win. And then when you talk about Gervonta Tank Davis, his win over Isaac Cruz is arguably better than Jojo Diaz's win by Devin Haney. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. Same goes as Ryan Garcia. If he's able to defeat Tank Davis, that's a better win than George Kambosos. And his win over Javier Fortuna is arguably better than Devin Haney's win over Jorge Linares. Or his win over Emmanuel Tago is arguably better than Devin Haney's win over Jojo Diaz. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. Follow me on Facebook, Gerard.Briscoe.3551. Like, share, and subscribe to JB Sports, the man, the myth, the legend. And I holla.